It's that time again. Time to check in with local advertisers to see what they think about the economy, where it's heading, and how it's going to affect their marketing spend. We'll find out all the answers in about 30 seconds.
Welcome to Corey's Local Marketing Minute, an enlightening and entertaining look at what's happening in the world of local advertising and marketing. Corey's Local Marketing Minute is brought to you by Adcelerant.
Adcelerant provides best-in-class digital advertising solutions. Our proprietary technology covers your entire sales funnel, from proposal creation and campaign launch to monitored performance. We collaborate with local media companies and agencies to deliver excellent customer service, sales support, campaign management, and more. As an industry leader, we'll go above and beyond to ensure your success. Unlock your digital advertising potential with Adcelerant.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time for another installment of the Borrell Business Barometer, baby. Kind of sound like Pitbull. A little bit? Okay, maybe not. Anyway, the barometer is a set of 4 questions we ask our SMB panel every quarter. They answer about the past, present, and future. We get to trend it, do all this other fancy stuff. I don't really know what it is, but they tell me it's cool. But before we jump into that, subscribe, like, comment, and I got a new one this time, share. Anyway, let's get to the barometer. Kind of a glimpse into a local advertiser and where their head's at. Like I said, 4 questions, 1 past, 1 present, 2 future. So let's start with past. And how am I going to set this up? I wasn't picking my nose just then. Okay, we're going to look backwards first. I've got 6 different points in time up here. February, May, August, and November of 23, and then February and May of 24. So we asked them, over the past 6 months, do you think it's gotten easier or harder to sustain a small business? We're just going to look at the ones who said harder and easier. Harder, easier. So to get you accustomed to how I'm going to do this, back in February of 23, 56% said it had gotten harder, 10% said it's gotten easier in February of 23. So let's fill in the rest of these. Let's look at the percentage who said harder. Went from 56 to 54, 50, 50, 50, and then 52% in May. Again, looking backwards, 52% said it's gotten harder. Easier went from 10, 8, 10, 5, 9, 8. Little dip here in November, but mostly around 10, 9, 8. And here, pretty consistent, maybe just a little tiny uptick, but almost a solid year at 50%. That's looking back 6 months. So pretty consistent pessimism looking back, and optimism, I guess. So now let's look at the present. Okay, to gauge the present, we asked them, how would you characterize the current economic situation in the US for sustaining a small business? Percentages who said poor, percentages who said excellent, good. Okay, back in February of 2023, 21% said the current economic situation is poor. Meanwhile, 27% said it was either excellent or good. As you move forward on the poor, it went from 21, 23, 24, 22, 19, back to 21. Meanwhile, on the excellent good, went from 27, 27, 25, 27, 28, up to 30%. Again, that's when we asked them to look currently at this current situation right now. That's a slight improvement from August of 2023. Okay, that's all well and good. So we're maintaining pessimism looking backwards, around that 50%, and looking at the current situation, a little bit of improvement, yeah. But what about looking forward 6 months? Okay, the question was, during the next 6 months, economic conditions for sustaining a small business in the US will get worse or get better? Again, I'm just going to look at these 2. Now, I purposely left off the last one just so I can add some drama. Back in February of 2023, 28% said, oh, the next 6 months is going to get worse. 15% said, going to get better. Worse went from 28 up to 39% last year, 29, 25, 22. Then get better went from 15 to 9, 14, 15, 18. So, what do you think their latest answer is? What percentage said next 6 months is going to be worse? 32%, 1 out of 3. What about get better? 9%. Okay, that looks kind of gloomy. Surely that's not going to affect their marketing spend, right? Because that's our 4th question. Over the next 6 months, my business will spend more or less on advertising and marketing than it did the previous 6 months. Let's see what they said. Okay, so here we go again. Leaving off that last one. The percentage back in February of 23 who said they were going to spend less in the next 6 months than they did in the previous 6 months, 15%. Then went to 19, 13, 12, 15. The ones who said they're going to spend more, 22, 22, 22%, 16%, 23%. Got your guesses over here? Lock them in. Going to spend more, 17%. Going to spend less, 18%. So 13, 12, 15, 18, 22, 16, 23, 17. Oof. So even though there's less pessimism when we ask them to look backwards and that the current economic situation is okay, this is happening. But my friends, there's something deeper. And that is the nature of the question. We ask them to look forwards and backwards 6 months. And as you all know, every business has its own seasonality, right? So maybe it's not quite fair to compare them like this, but what would it look like if we just looked at May to Mays, or as close as we can get? Let's take a look. Okay, 6 time frames again. May for the last 4 years. Then the closest we had in 2020 was in March, and then in 2019, April. So cut us some slack there. But let's look at the percentages here when we ask them to look forward. So these are the percentage of local advertisers who said the next 6 months is going to get worse, or the economic conditions are going to get worse to maintain a small business. Look what's happening. Pre-pandemic, 26%, so it's going to get worse. Then March of 2020 jumped up to 71%. Then we had, if you remember, back in 2021, everything was going to be great, fell to 19%. Then 51, 39, 32. See what's happening there? Now the percentage who said it was going to get better went 13% in 19, 14% in 2020, those dang optimists. Then again in 2021, when we thought, yay, a full 47% said it's going to get better. And then we settled into 7%, 9%, 9%. So when you look at May year over year, taking out the pre-pandemic and the wackiness here, the pessimism is going down, the optimism maintaining. The marketing spend? Back in the day, 8% said they're going to spend less, 29% said more. Pandemic, 52% said less, 16% said more. Then in 21, 11%, 31%. So what about here? Percentage who said they're going to spend less went from 20% in 22 to 19 to 18. The ones who are going to spend more, 19 to 22 to 17. I'm not going to go so far to say that this is falling. Hell, these could be rounding errors right here, right? But it's maintaining. It's the same as it's been for a while now. So I think this is a fairer way to look at it. You're comparing the very same time period. And this gives me a little bit of encouragement to know that looking backwards, things are getting better. Current economic situation is okay, but looking forwards, decreasing pessimism, maintaining optimism, maintaining pessimism, maintaining optimism. So there you go. It's pretty safe to say that when looking forward, a business might have pretty much the same perspective they had in the last 2 years. And that sure beats 2020. That's all the news from the Borrell Business Barometer, baby. I'm no pit bull. I'm more a tubby poodle with mange.
You've been watching Corey's Local Marketing Minute, sponsored by our friends at Adcelerant. Learn more at adcelerant.com. Remember, if you'd like to hear more of Corey's insights, check out the Local Marketing Trends podcast. Just Google Borrell Podcast or look for the podcast link on BorrellAssociates.com.